inspired. I'm inspired.
Hey there guys, how's it going? My name is Sumit Chatterjee from the Flow Zone Academy, and I'm a flow state coach, which means that I help you feel better and perform better. Today I'm going to be talking about how you can find out your purpose. Okay, your purpose. This is a question that I get quite a lot, so I'm going to make a video on it. So basically, I personally follow this method with a lot of my flow state clients, okay, who come on my program. And they ask me, like, what's my purpose? I don't know what I'm doing. I'm lost. I don't know which direction I'm moving in, and what do I do next? Okay, this is a very common question, especially if you're growing up and you want to find some more stability, understanding, certainty, clarity towards where you want to be headed towards. Okay, what kind of profession you want to choose, what kind of place you want to be in, what kind of life you want to have. Okay, it is not always easy to make that choice because we have an infinite number of choices, right? So it's going to have to come down to your values and what you really think that you stand for in this world, okay? So the first step, and this is a model used by Stephen Kotler. I just want to premise this before I get into it, okay? So it's called the curiosity list, okay? I want you to think of 25 questions that you're curious about, okay? 25 questions that you're curious about. Now, these don't exactly have to be things that you're good at. They have to be things you're interested in, things you're interested in learning more about, things that you don't know the answer to, but you're curious in finding out. Okay? So just write down the questions. You don't even have to search for the answers yet. Just write down the questions and make it 25. After that, some examples of questions. I wonder if aliens exist? Question mark. And only write it down if that's something you were genuinely curious about. Don't just write it down because you have to, and you're doing this task, right? This is for you to get to your process of figuring out what your purpose is, okay? The next thing is you want to clump them into 3 different topics or themes, okay? You'll notice with the questions that you asked in terms of the curiosity list, there are certain words and certain themes that are very close to each other. Let's say that you mentioned science a lot, so you clump up science into one theme. Let's say you mentioned dance a lot, then you clump up dance into another theme. Then let's say you have geography a lot. You mentioned a lot about different countries and different places and stuff like that. So then you clump it up in geography, science, and dance, okay? Now you have 3 themes, and these are your top 3 passions, okay? From these top 3 passions, you're going to now act them out every day. Do one thing that strengthens your passion. At least one of those passions, or all 3 of those passions. Keep acting them out and getting better at them. Then eventually you want to ask yourself a question, and I think the person who asked this question, what's my passion, it's between 2 of them that you're trying to choose from, okay? But even in that case, you want to ask yourself the question, how are these top 3 passions going to help me solve a global issue or solve somebody's problem that's out there, right? You know how some people have this problem? You want to step in and be like, what I do is this big solution. Okay, that's how you get to your purpose. Because your purpose actually helps somebody. Okay? You are here to cause a level of impact and service on this planet and contribute in some way. So that's where you get to the crux, the pinnacle of your purpose. Okay? And from a flow state model, I would say find something that is challenging to you, okay, and you're skilled at. That's the challenge skills ratio, am I right? That's the flow state. So that's kind of my model. That's how I would search for this, because everyone's like, I want to know my purpose. What is my purpose? But they miss out on the curiosity. They miss out on the passion, which Passion, the word itself, comes from suffering, a little bit of work, to get there. So, instead of rushing past and finding out what is my purpose, what is my big why, what is my thing, just look for the signs that are already out there. They're giving you inclination towards a specific pathway, right? It's called a calling. Why is it called a calling? Because it's calling you, right? It's giving you hints. It's giving you a sign. It's vibrating at a frequency, right? So when you pick up and roll with that calling, you're going to notice there's a lot of answers. You're going to get much more clarity than if you don't know and you're trying to decide between two things and you have split mind, right? So you're only going to know by you trying it out if it's for you or not, right? This is primarily the reason why I went to a liberal arts college. Okay? I went to a liberal arts college specifically because I couldn't decide. Like, I don't know what I want to do. I like everything. I like every single creative thing known to man. That was me in the past. I was like, I like drawing. I like dancing. I like acting. I eventually ended up doing psychology, but that was from a long process of me figuring it out, right, what I wanted to do. But also I wanted to combine theater and psychology together, and in my college they allowed that, right? Now a lot of colleges, they won't allow that. They want you to focus on one thing, get really clear on one idea, but the benefit of liberal arts is you get to try different things out, and you get to see, like, okay, I have this, and then there's also this that I can try out. And see if I like them at all, right? Because if I don't like them and I end up doing them again and again, it's like you find out years later, right? You take a long course or something, you find out years later, this isn't for me, right? Now, of course, a lot of people will be like, man, that was time wasted. Well, you have that perspective now. So why not use those lenses to look at the world in a new way in your new craft? See what I'm saying? So start from experience, not from scratch. You always want to not feel regret for the things that you didn't do or things like that. It's like use the experiences that you have had and use them into your new purpose pathway, you'd call it, okay? The pathway to purpose. You can call it by different names, the Tao, the Dharma, the path, the twofold path, the middle path, the this way, the that way. Okay, we can call it whatever way that we want, but ultimately it is your way. Okay, this is your path. This is not anybody else's. Other people are just going to give you lots of maps. They're not going to tell you X marks the spot, this is where the treasure is. They're not going to do that. You're going to have to sit with yourself and look internally and go on this journey to figure out that the treasure has always been right here within you. And you've always known this. Okay? Now this might take you a long time, right? Everybody's pacing for this thing is different. A lot of people, they realize what their passion and purpose is when they're like 80 years old, right? Some people decide when they're super young. Maybe they're forced into it by their parents. Whatever it is, right? Like, you got to understand that this process is going to be very unique to you. And you're not going to get an answer in a video like this, unfortunately, man. You know what I mean? Like, but I gave you that unique process, so try that out first and foremost. The curiosity list, then top 3 passions. You can maybe color code it, right? Top 3 passions, and then act it on those passions until you get to that point where you're like, how can these passions actually work together, or how can these passions, solve a global issue? Try that out as the first initial mark, that spark, where you get your purpose. Knowing your purpose is great because it gives you like a gravitational pull towards that purpose. So whenever you feel lost or stagnant or things come up, you always have that as a leeway, right? As a leverage point where you're like, nah, I'd rather go towards my purpose. And get more specific each day about what that purpose is. A lot of us, we don't know. Instead of trying to find your purpose, it's better to just live a purpose, right? Because finding it can take forever. It's like you're lost in a jungle somewhere trying to look for this thing. Whereas you're actually living it and embodying it, that's a different thing. That's a different story. Because you're finding the answers through doing the actions. That's what I'm saying, man. So if you want to be a dancer, you can only find out if you want to be a dancer through dancing. Not about looking up dance schools. You get what I'm saying? So the thing is, you got to understand what is it in your bones, like what is that talent, what is that there, it's that natural skill set that you can tap into and utilize. Like, this is why doing lots of quizzes and personality tests, this is what guidance counselors, career counselors tell you to do, right? Do this personality test, do this strengths quiz, do this other thing associated with jobs, right? I highly recommend you do all of that. Do all of the quizzes that get you to see different perspectives, objective and subjective, to get you to understanding your own lens, your own mirror to the world, the looking glass self, right? So after you get their perspectives, then you can start to make your own perspective. What resonates with me, Like really, like when you watch a show that resonates with you, do you get a tingle through your body or goosebumps? In certain scenarios, certain events, certain words that percolate, certain imagery that you see in movies, certain vibes you get from people. What is that? What is that pattern? Like, note that down, because that is the little subtle instances that you're getting to move you more closer towards what you were meant to do here on this planet. Okay? And I understand we aren't all there yet. But it's okay. You don't have to rush through this process, because the people who rush through this process and they're like, man, I wonder what this purpose is. Nah, that ain't for me. I wonder what that purpose is. Nah, that ain't for me. Instead, just start searching for it. Get curious, get into the state of wonder, get into the state where you're like a child again, exploring and learning about the world, where you're hyper inquisitive and just wanting to know things. And the more you know, you figure out the more you don't know. And that's this beautiful journey. And you want to get to that mastery, right? That unconscious competence. But that comes from actually starting from a place where you're like, I don't know about this thing that much, but I want to know. I want to know about it. Let me see what happens on this adventure to knowing more about it. For instance, I'm not a professional rapper, right? But it's always been my passion. I still use the impact of my hip-hop and rap, and I don't stop recording songs. My songs are out there right on SoundCloud. I don't stop recording songs. I still use that mentality, that agency, that wordsmith quality in my videos, in everything that I do. So it's not going to go away from me all of a sudden, It's just how I'm using it, how I am diluting it and displacing it, and just allowing myself to explore it. So that's what I would say is, you never really lose out on any kind of purpose or passion. They're always displaced and reorganized in your mind in some way. And so, that's really going to help you out. So if you have any more questions about this process, shoot me a message. Have an amazing day. May the flow be with you and stay legendary. See you next time.